Proverbs chapter 1, verse 7. The fear of the Lord is the beginning of knowledge, but fools despise wisdom and instruction. What's going on, guys? Welcome to the Peace, Power, and Purpose podcast. Today I'm going to be in the book of Proverbs. Proverbs is in the Old Testament in the Bible, and I'm going to go through different parts of the book of Proverbs and how to apply them to our everyday life as a man. If you were to pick one book of the Bible that I think is a roadmap for how to live your life in a healthy, successful way, it would be the book of Proverbs. Proverbs was written by King Solomon. Solomon was David's son, and Solomon is said to have been the wisest man in the Bible. So I'm going to kind of jump around in the book of Proverbs. I'm going to cover things like marriage, wisdom, even alcohol abuse, friends, your heart, really just kind of, like I said before, the roadmap to success as a man. There are a lot of people that have provided feedback, and I appreciate the feedback on YouTube as I've done these different series on books of the Bible. Proverbs, kind of like when I talked about the book of James, even if you aren't a Christian, it's still a good book to read because it really lays out what it takes to live a good life, what type of woman to marry, how to not self-sabotage, how to gain more wisdom, how to be humble, what types of people to choose to hang out with. Really, man, it's almost like a self-help book if you want to put it that way. And I don't mean that in a blasphemous way at all, but it's really a guide to life. I wish when I was younger that I would have read Proverbs and really understood it and absorbed it, because I would have made probably some different decisions in life. But you can't live with regret. I'm here today because of the choices I've made, and I've gone through a transformation because I realized I needed to focus on my mental health. So I'm going to kind of do an overview of the book of Proverbs real fast, and then I'll start getting into some of the scriptures. And I'm going to be reading out of the Warrior Bible today. So the purpose of Proverbs, or the purpose of the book, is stated in Proverbs chapter 1, verses 2 through 7, to provide understanding, insight, and guidance aimed at inspiring right and reasonable living by God's standards. By applying this wisdom to life, simple people become sensible. Youth gain knowledge and discretion or good judgment, and the wise become even wiser. The book of Proverbs says that the true source of wisdom is the fear of the Lord, and that's in chapter 1, verse 7. This means having a deep respect for God's amazing power and authority as a creator and judge. So in a practical sense, the fear of the Lord. So fear is not that you're afraid of God. Fear is that you're obedient to God, that you follow his teachings, that you live your life for Jesus, that you do unto others as you would have them do unto you, right? The golden rule. Okay. Jesus Christ actually came up with the golden rule, by the way. So in a practical sense, fear of the Lord involves a serious determination to do what God says is right, wise, and worthy of honor, and to avoid what he says is wrong, foolish, or worthy of judgment. So to summarize that, if you make your own decisions and do not put God first, you are more than likely to make bad decisions. Therefore, there will be consequences for those bad decisions. You reap what you sow. So if you live for yourself, you don't serve other people, eventually it's going to catch up to you. Now, there is an exception to every rule. I know firsthand a individual that has just destroyed several people's lives, and they have not been paid back for it yet. I've known this person for almost 15 years. I've seen it firsthand. I don't understand it. I don't know how someone could have so much quote unquote bad karma and destroy other people's lives, and then they don't have it brought to them. But I think in the end, if you do not follow God, you're going to see the consequences of your actions or your mistakes. I'm living proof of that. I made a lot of poor decisions in my life. I hurt a lot of innocent people, and I had everything taken from me. I've hit rock bottom twice in my life, and I'm convinced it's because I did not follow what is in the book of Proverbs, what's in the Bible, and I did not always put God first in my life. All right. So, kind of getting more into Proverbs, it is a basic handbook for life. Like I said earlier, it is the most practical book in the Old Testament. It gives guidance for all ages and cultures. So it's also for women, for men, for children, everybody. It gives instructions in short statements that are easy to memorize. So the verses are pretty short in this. The family is extremely important extremely important subject in Proverbs. We're going to talk about marriage on this episode too, so that kind of ties into that. The description of the wise wife and mother at the end of the book, chapter 31, is unique in ancient literature in a way it portrays women with such high regard and honor. So that's a fun fact about Proverbs. All right, so I started off with chapter 1, verse 7, talking about wisdom. So I've kind of laid out some key points. I'm going to talk about wisdom, marriage, alcohol abuse, because I'm really comfortable with that subject, how your words affect people, your speech, how to be humble, or what the cost of not being humble can be, and also what types of people you surround yourself with or friends. So I'm going to kick off wisdom first, since I already did verse 7 in chapter 1. I've got some highlighted verses that I'm going to read. So I'm going to read chapter 3, verse 5. This is probably one of the most famous verses in the book of Proverbs. Trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding. So here's my interpretation of that. Trust God no matter what. Bad things are going to happen to you, even when you follow God. It doesn't mean God is set out to hurt you or to cause chaos in your life. That just means that life is hard. It's a constant battle. It's a constant struggle. If you can keep your eyes on Jesus, trust him, follow him, eventually things will level off and you'll be able to get through those trials knowing that God loves you and that God is there. If you try to do it on your own and control everything, you're going to have a more difficult time getting through those trials, which might lead to self-sabotage through unhealthy habits or behaviors like drug abuse, alcohol abuse, whatever. You can gambling. I can't say the other one or YouTube will kick me off, but it starts with an S, it has an E in it, it has an X in it. That type of stuff, you're going to try to numb. You're going to try to, cope or get through what you're going through. So focus on God. All right. The next one for wisdom I had was chapter 9, verse 10. And I'm just reading it straight from the Bible. So instead of going off the laptop, I'm going to just be right in the Bible today. I went and did a little bit of prep work beforehand. And chapter 9 starts with the title, The Way of Wisdom, because we are talking about wisdom. So verse 10, the fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom, and the knowledge of the Holy One is understanding. So if you trust God, you follow God, you read his word, you're going to have more wisdom than someone who is foolish and tries to do everything on their own. That's going to trigger some people because I just said foolish. I'm saying this because I was that guy that tried to do everything on my own. And I was a fool because I thought I knew best. I thought I could control everything. And I was wrong. I could not. The last one I have on wisdom is chapter 16, verse 3. I'm trying to keep these episodes short so you guys will actually watch them. Because if I covered everything, it'd just be too long, and I don't think anybody would sit through an hour of me talking. So I'm going to keep it trying to keep it short. So I'm moving pretty fast through this. All right, chapter 16, verse 3. We'll get to it real quick. All right, here we go. Commit your works to the Lord, and your thoughts will be established. So honor God, live your life for God, and he's going to bless you. You don't follow God, you do your own thing, you're going to be isolated from God. That doesn't mean he doesn't love you, but you've got to worship God. You got to put God first to receive his blessings. He's not a genie, or he's not, manifestation's big nowadays. You're not just going to get things because you're doing it your own way. Let's put God first as a Christian. Now, the non-Christians watching this won't agree with that statement, and that's cool. But this is a podcast focusing on the Bible, focusing on God. So that's why I'm saying this stuff. Okay, let's jump to the next one. I'm going to jump to marriage because this is a big topic, like I said in the beginning of this episode. So the first verse that I'm going to read, I'm in chapter 12. And this is a good way to start. This is how chapter 12 starts. Whoever loves instruction, this is verse 1 in chapter 12. Whoever loves instruction loves knowledge, but he who hates correction is stupid. So if you think you're never wrong, that you can't make a mistake, let's say you're a little bit of a narcissist, because that's a big buzzword nowadays, you're not going to gain knowledge because you're not willing to learn. You're not willing to be open to instruction or discipline. I know some people like that too, like I was mentioning earlier. All right, so I'm in chapter 12. I'm going to shoot to verse 4. All right, this is a good verse right here. This is about marriage. An excellent wife is the crown of her husband. There's an old saying, behind every successful man is a strong woman. I think they should be beside each other because marriage is a partnership. Now, according to the Bible, it's God, husband, wife, kids. So in a way, the husband is in a leadership role, but they are a team, they are partners, they should be walking side by side. So a good wife is the crown of her husband. And this is the rest of verse 4. But she who causes shame is like rottenness in his bones. So if you marry a woman that shames you, that nags you, that doesn't support you, that competes with you, that treats you like a child, makes you feel bad for the mistakes that you've made, it's like having rotten bones. And any of you that have been married, been through a divorce, you can probably relate to this. So another famous saying is, the woman you decide to marry is one of the most important, if not the most important, decision of your life, especially when it comes to financial implications if you do happen to go through a divorce. So Proverbs does a good job here talking about what type of woman to choose. I've also heard the saying, marry a Proverbs woman, or a woman like a Proverbs type woman, and I think that's a good way to put it. I'm going to jump to chapter 18. Like I said, I'm moving kind of quick through these just for time's sake. Okay, this is going to be chapter 18, verses 22. Okay, so 22. Almost there. He who finds a wife finds a good thing and obtains favor from the Lord. So if you marry a good woman, you respect that woman, you treat her well, you love her, you protect her, you're going to earn favor from God. God created marriage, God created man, God created woman. Marriage is a covenant with God. So the best way to honor God is to honor your wife, to treat her right, to love her, to work together as a team. All right. Let's get into a fun one. Let's get into alcohol. This is the one that I can really relate to a lot as well. All right, I'm going to chapter 23, and I'm going to hit verses 31 through 33. This is a really cool verse because I like snakes, so that's why I picked this one. All right, what did I say? I said chapter 23, 31 through 33. Do not look on the wine when it's red, when it sparkles in the cup, when it swirls around smoothly. At the last, it bites like a serpent, and it stings like a viper. Okay, the Bible does not say not to drink alcohol. Jesus' first miracle was he turned water into wine at a wedding. Some churches use wine during the Lord's Supper. They use real wine, not grape juice. I grew up in the Church of Christ. We use grape juice. I've never had the Lord's Supper with real wine. I wouldn't do it now because I don't drink anymore. But what this is saying, guys, if you get drunk, you're losing control of your body. You're losing control of your thoughts, your inhibitions. You're going to do things you wouldn't do normally when you were sober. So you're out of control. So what it's saying in Proverbs is not to get drunk. It doesn't say not to drink. So before people get upset and start going off on the comments, I'm say it again. The Bible does not say to not drink alcohol. It says to not get drunk. Proverbs is not the only book of the Bible that talks about this. This is in the New Testament as well. And I think if you have self-control, you can handle alcohol. There's nothing wrong with it. If you were someone like I used to be, it was a competitive sport. And most of the trouble that I've gotten in my life was because I was drunk. And I'm going to get into speech here in a little bit. And when I would drink, I did not wash my mouth. I did not use discernment. I would just spit venom if something irritated me. And that is not the way to follow God, by popping off at the mouth of people. That is a reactive way to deal with things versus responding to situations. So being a hothead or hurting people with your words. So alcohol is, when you're drunk, it's harder to do that, I think. Okay, let's talk about speech, because I've got a few examples of speech. So I'm going to go to chapter 18, and I'm going to be in verse 21. All right, verse 21. Death and life are in the power of the tongue, and those who love it will eat its fruit. Words are weapons. When you say something, you cannot take it back. So you can ask for forgiveness. You can apologize if you say something that maybe you didn't mean, but you have to choose your words carefully, especially in a situation where you're angry or you're hurt, disrespected, you're upset. So if you are firing off the mouth, if you're a hothead, if you're cussing people out at the drop of a hat, you're not following God. You're not full of wisdom and knowledge. You're reacting to a situation versus responding to it. So there's the first example. Then I'm going to go into chapter 15. A lot of good stuff here in Proverbs. All right, 15:21. Folly is joy to him who is destitute of discernment, but a man of understanding walks uprightly. So I just used that word discernment earlier when I was doing the reference on drinking and being drunk. So you cannot take back what you say. So if you're firing off the mouth at people, you could lose your job. You could end up marriage with this. You could end up really good friendship. You could hurt your kids. You could lose that respect from your wife and your kids by running your mouth. And as Christians, we're supposed to be the light of Christ and be an example of Christ. It's not easy, guys. You can't do it all the time. We're all going to make mistakes. And I'm not on here to bitch at you and say, hey, you can't make a mistake. But it's gaining this wisdom. It's gaining this knowledge to help us in our everyday life just to do a better job. And I'm not Mr. Happy. I'm not the guy that goes around and wants to talk to everybody when I'm out doing normal stuff. Like today I was at the grocery store And I just worked out. I do not like going to the grocery store. I don't know if many people do. I think it's like going to the DMV. I just don't enjoy it. So my goal in the store is to go as fast as I can, get what I need, and get out of there because it's just not fun. I'm standing in line, and I had on a T-shirt that said "Lions, not sheep." And I'm minding my own business, and this sweet little lady came up to me and she said, "Sir, what does the back of your shirt mean?" And that company, Lions Not Sheep, upsets a lot of people because they see it as an ultra right-wing conservative company that, you know, maybe doesn't agree with a lot of people. I'm going to try to put that as nice as I can since this is a Bible podcast. So when she first asked me, A, it surprised me that she even talked to me because I was kind of in my own world, just ready to check out. And B, I wanted to answer in a way that I didn't feel like getting a confrontation. So I used discernment on how I answered her. And I just said, it's a company that is based on walking your own path and not being controlled by the government. And all it really means is think for yourself. And she asked me, she said, "Are you a veteran?" Or I'm sorry, she said, "Are you a Christian?" And I said, "Yes," because it says lions, not sheep. And she said, "Okay, I am too." And I told her some Christians get offended by the slogan lions, not sheep, because Christ is the shepherd and we as followers of Jesus are the sheep. So some people take that the wrong way because it says lion. I see it as a lion walking your own path, man. You're still following God, but I'm not listening to the media telling me how to run my life. That's as far as I'm gonna get into that, but that's just how I see it. So we had a good little conversation. She was real sweet. And where I'm going with this, I chose my words carefully. I didn't react. I didn't tell her like, "Hey lady, don't bother me. I'm just trying to check out." So there's a real world application. And you may think I'm crazy because I had to, use discernment to talk to somebody at the store, but man, I'm an introvert. I just worked out. My adrenaline's flowing. I don't want to be in that place. I don't feel good. I've had this congestion all week. I just wanted to get out of there. But I took it as an opportunity to meet somebody new, and she was very nice. And I'm glad that she asked me about the T-shirt. And for you, those that you wonder, this is Pipe Hitters Union. This is a veteran-owned company out of Virginia Beach. Great company. They make great apparel. It's run by a former team guy. They've been around, I think, since like 08 maybe. But anyways, I like this hat. I wear it a lot. So if you see it, that's what it is. All right, what's the next one I got? I'm going to be in chapter 10, so I'm going backwards a little bit. Chapter 10, verse 19, still talking about speech. In the multitude of words, sin is not lacking, but he who restrains his lips is wise. So if you run your mouth, you say things you don't mean, you're going to hurt someone's feelings, or worse, you're going to scare them. You're not following God. You're not representing Christ. You're not living the way that we're supposed to live. But if you restrain, if you watch what you say, use discernment, that's showing wisdom. If you have someone in your life that hates you, that is set out to make your life miserable, that likes to push your buttons, this is a good verse for you. Staying calm, staying quiet, choosing your words carefully, that is a sign of wisdom. Reacting to that person, trying to one-up them, which is easy to do if they want to get into a shouting match with you, or they want to try to tarnish your character or your reputation, and basically go after them tit for tat or keep score. That's not wisdom. You will de-escalate that situation by staying quiet and using few words. There's something known as verbal judo in the law enforcement world. And all that is, if you're in a situation where someone is it's a heated situation, they're angry and they're yelling at you, the calmer you can stay, the better the situation's going to go. You don't want to continue to take it up because they are angry or they are upset. Kill them with kindness. They say that in the retail world. The customer's always right. Kill them with kindness. So it's simple as that. All right, and I'm going to jump on the last little. Well, actually, I'm sorry, I got two more. So I'm going to go to humility. I'm going to hit humility, then I'm going to hit friends. And we kind of talked about being humble just with the speech part of things. Because pride, you would try to win the argument, right? Being humble, you're going to stay quiet, use few words by using discernment. So I'm going to chapter 18, verse 12. All right. Before destruction, the heart of man is haughty, and before honor, it's humility. So I just kind of said this. If you're full of pride, you're not going to be willing to learn. You think you're always right. You think you're better than everybody. Let's throw that buzzword out again, narcissist, because everybody's a narcissist nowadays. I'm pretty sure that's got to be a clinical diagnosis. Sharon, if you're watching this, she's my trauma therapist client. You can provide some feedback. I think that's a clinical diagnosis. But anyways, if you're humble, you're not trying to win the argument. You're not walking around like you're better than everybody. You're open-minded. Here's a good way to put that as a Christian. The world itself, those that live for the world and don't live for God, they hate Christians. I've already seen this in comments on this page. They hate Christians. They do. Because they see Christians as Ned Flanders. They see, and if you don't know who Ned Flanders is, he's from The Simpsons. I mean, I'm 45 and I grew up on it, but there's people that don't know what The Simpsons are somehow. But anyways, Ned Flanders is a dorky, nerdy neighbor of Homer Simpson, and he's Charlie Church. He doesn't cuss, he doesn't drink, he doesn't do anything. He's like perfect, straight-laced Christian dude. The world sees Christians as weak. They see us as judgmental. They see us as holier than thou, and they see us as hypocrites. Because at the end of the day, nobody's perfect, right? Jesus is perfect. The rest of us are not. That's why he died on the cross for our sins, because we're not perfect. We're going to make mistakes. So if you can be humble, and this is getting back to what I was just, the topic I was just hitting on. If someone does something you don't agree with, they vote for a party you don't like, their lifestyle is something you don't agree with, it's not your place to judge them. It's not your place to tell them they are wrong, because it's not what you do. That doesn't mean you have to agree with them. You can love the person and hate the sin, right? It's not your job to step in and say, you're wrong because you don't follow Jesus. That's their decision. I mean, if they don't want to follow Jesus, there ain't a whole lot you're going to be able to do about it. And my advice to you is, if they're open to hearing about Jesus, then tell them. But if they're not, don't cast your pearls among swine. Just, hey, man, that's cool. You know, he's there if you want him. If not, okay, man, all good. Everybody has free will. They have the right to choose what they want to do, right? There's going to be people out there that do things that you may not agree with, that are a new way of thinking or a new way of living. There's not a whole lot you can do about it. You can voice your opinion. Now, if it affects the schools or it affects the Constitution, okay, maybe go there a little bit. But as far as a one-on-one interaction, it's not your job, man. It's not. So use discernment. Keep your big mouth shut. I had to learn that lesson the hard way. Not easy. All right, last one. My favorite verse in Proverbs, outside of the alcohol and the snake. That's pretty cool. Going to go to 27:17. The most of you that work out probably know this scripture. I don't even need to flip to it, but I'm going to read it verbatim. It is a very cool saying, and I'm pretty sure there's an apparel company with this same name. 27:17. All right, man, this one's for you. This is the best one in Proverbs. And I'm not there yet. As iron sharpens iron, so a man sharpens the countenance of his friends. I'm going to read that one more time. 27:17. As iron sharpens iron, so a man sharpens the countenance of his friend. You need to surround yourself with people that are better than you, that are going to make you better. This is where humility comes in. You don't need to be the best in your friends group. You need men in your life that are better than you, men with more wisdom, men that have gone through hardship, that have gone through trials and tribulations, that have got a testimony, that have wisdom, that have knowledge, so they can influence you in a positive way. There's another scripture, and I believe it's in Corinthians, and Paul said this: bad company corrupts good character. You are who you surround yourself with. If you hang out with scrote bags, guess what? You're a scrote bag. If you hang out with good people, good men, this is for you too, ladies, good women, you're going to be a good person. Let's think about this for a minute. Marriage is a joke in 2025. I mean, it's easy to get a divorce. It's going to cost you. But people are like, oh, I'm out. My husband sucks. I'm done. I'm out. I want to go live my life. I want to follow my heart. I want to have fun. I missed out on so much. So they get a divorce. Guys do the same thing, so it's not just women. Let's take that. If you're in a group of friends, ladies, this one's for you. All right, women, you've got a friend circle of 4 women. They've all been divorced. They all married clowns. They all married guys that never stepped up to the table, that never had a job, that never helped with the kids. They still don't have a job. They're still slobs. They don't do anything. You find a guy that really loves you, a guy that's trying to do the right thing, a guy that works hard, a guy that follows God, a guy that, say, turned his life around. He's trying to walk the right path. He's trying to follow Jesus as best he can. If your friends are in your ear telling you, I wouldn't marry that guy, it's going to lead to divorce. They're all the same. All men are the same. All men are pigs. He's going to cheat on you. He's going to stop working when you get married, or he just loves you for your money, or he just loves you for your looks. What do you think that friend's going to do? They're going to start questioning. They're going to start thinking, well, maybe they're right. She's got to follow God. She's got to put God first, not her friends. Guys, it works the same way. Let's flip it so the women will make it even. Guys, you roll in a group of dudes, and you've got 4 brothers that you're real tight with. You've been dating this wonderful woman for a long time, and all these men in your friend group have been divorced. They were cheated on. They lost everything. These women they were married to took their kids away. They lost a lot of money, pride, everything, right? And your friends tell you I would never get married again because all women are the same. They're all going to cheat, and they're going to take everything from you. So if the man listens to his buddies, he's going to have second thoughts. He's going to live in fear. The last episode was how to be a courageous man. If you're listening to a bunch of scrote bags, and I'm trying not to cut, so I have to be creative. So if you're listening to a bunch of scrote bags in your life, you're going to be a scrote bag, man. You're going to be unhappy. You're going to be miserable. You're not going to have wisdom. You're not going to have happiness. You're not going to be successful. Follow God. Surround yourself with like-minded individuals that are better than you, that are more successful than you, more knowledgeable than you. Guess what? You're going to be in the same boat. It's just like sports, right? You're the best kid on your team in a small town, play baseball, you're a stud. You go up in the bigger pond where there's better players, you're not going to be as good, but your level of playing is going to improve because you're with better players. You're going to have to perform better. These men in your circle, if they're good men, they're going to hold you to a higher standard because they love you. If you're in a circle with guys that aren't good, you don't have a standard to hold. They want you down at their level. Just like the analogy with the women. These women that are divorced and hate men, they don't want to see their friend happy. They want to keep that woman down with them because they're bitter. They got hurt, they got burned. They want everyone else to feel the pain and the shame that they have. So put God first. Do the right thing. Be courageous. Be humble. Love. Be kind. Be gentle. This is the book of Proverbs in a very fast overview. I recommend that you read this book. I've read it a couple times. I have not read the whole Bible through. I'm still working through it, but I think Proverbs is an amazing book it's one that's jumped out at me. And the verse I just read, 27:17, iron sharpens iron. That's probably one of the manliest verses in the whole Bible. It is one that I really like, and it's been my favorite for a long time. So I hope you guys got something out of this today. I hope that this will kind of be a guide for you if you are working on your mental health, if you are trying to improve your life. Read the book of Proverbs, man. Everything you can think of is in this book. And the big things for men, marriage, what kind of friends to have in your life, how to raise your kids. I didn't get into the children. There's a lot of verses in here on how to raise your kids, how to speak to people. It's a good book. I mean, it really is. I appreciate your time today listening to the Peace, Power, Purpose podcast. Be sure to like and subscribe, and feel free to comment down below on the bottom of this video and let me know what you thought about this episode. Until next time, guys, take care. Thank you very much, and God bless.